What up, fam? This your boy Gerald. It is Sunday evening. Uh, hell, it's almost 11 o'clock Hawaii time, so it is plus almost 7 o'clock East Coast time in the morning. So, good morning. I hope you have a great week. Hope your weekend was well. It was an opportunity to reflect on the week prior. Hopefully, you take this time to focus on all the things that you put on the back burner that you said this week is going to be your get it week because you deserve it. Let me tell you, I know somebody like, I should, no. Listen, it's easy for you to have a mindset of you being selfish when actually you're being selfless. Because if you don't take care of you, who's going to take care of you? And you're required to do that. That's for somebody. Focus on the things that matter. Focus on the things that you need to do, not the things you want to do. Even if it may be painstakingly slow, put one foot down, let the other one follow, make progression. And I tell you, half the work is already done. Half the work is already done. Now, speaking of that, because I'm here sipping on my beverage, I've actually been thinking about up and up, updating my means of communication. And as I mentioned to you guys several times, I'm seriously considering. There's no consider. No, I'm going to do it. I'm setting up a Vimeo account, and I already have a Patreon account too. So now's a good time to subscribe to both because eventually content is shifting. Reason for that is you guys, there's so much I want you guys to be up here. This has been long coming. And the way the social media is going, you got to go ahead and have multiple streams out there so the intended person that may need it can find it. So it's going to come. Another thing that's going to occur, I'm going to cut my hair. Why? So what? Nah, let me tell you, I get bored. I'm like Queens, you guys change your hairstyle up. Well, it's time for me to change my stuff up, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut it all off. But this is I think this is like the fifth time. Let me tell you something. When you take care of yourself, your body will react. It will heal itself. It will respond. And one thing I can tell you, family, since I've been out here in Hawaii, for some of y'all that know, first of all, thank you for those who have been riding with me since day one. Thank you to those who have discovered my channel recently. I do it for you. Now, for those who don't know, at one time I used to have dreads. And 6 years ago, I grew them pretty long. It was down to my shoulder. And then I got this wild hair. And, you hear people say when you have dreads, think about it. Think about it before you cut them. And I was getting really impulsive because I always was the type of person that I was in the barber's chair every 2 weeks, getting the temple fade. I always kept my hair good. And for 3 years, I grew them. Then one day, emotional trigger. I said, nah, I need something different. Cut off my hair. Cut my hair off. For those who remember, y'all remember. For those who don't, all you gotta do, look at my content. I got over 1,000 videos on here. Been doing this almost a decade, and you've watched me transition from what it looked like, from the point of regrowing it out, from cutting it, blah 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 blah. Then for 3 years, I just said, you know what? I missed it. Grew my hair out again. Dreaded my hair again. My hair was back to my shoulders. And then I got blessed with an opportunity, and I'm here. Well, first impressions are lasting impressions to some people. And I wanted to make sure that I was professional. And that was very important. So I cut my hair off. I'm going to cut my dreads off. Came out here, bald fade, blah, blah, blah. Rocked that for a while. Decided to go ahead and let my waves grow out, let my curls come out. Difference was, I wanted to be an example to those people that may have had issues regrowing their hair. People that have suffered from stress, people that were suffering from alopecia. And I started to holistically invest in healing my scalp. Because when I had dreads, my practitioner would do them too tight. And I wasn't aware because I trusted everything that she did. But my they were getting along, and it was causing my hair to thin out, and I didn't know. So I started changing up my eating habits. I started taking my vitamins. I started hydrating, um, and then I started to expand on natural supplements that I could take with my minerals, and my hair grew. It just grew. And I've cut my hair since I've been here now 5 times. And I look crazy because it's late, and that's fine. But it's time. It's time. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it all off. This go around, and because I'm bored. You know how it is. You get bored of your face. I cut my beard off. You know, I cut it all off. But this time, I think I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut it back down low. Allow my scalp to just breathe, and I'm just grow it all over again. Which is crazy because uh, if I just stayed the part, I could actually dread my hair up again and just let my hair just be what it's supposed to be. But I know I got people that they're in their feelings sometimes, like, well, what are you doing your hair? Leave your hair. You know what? You can't please everybody. You know, I'm doing this for me. The real reason I did it initially because I embraced my spiritual walk, and I felt that I was called to do that, and I listened, and I never forgot that. Now, on a different note, um, well, before I go there, so I want to say this again. I got a Patreon account. Subscribe to it. I got a Vimeo account. Subscribe to it. Because as I start to make changes, things are going to change. And I want to give you guys opportunity to transition, be a part of that. Because once everything is done, then, like Fat Joe, yesterday's price ain't today's price. So I'm putting this out there. Now, here's another thing. Here's the reason why I'm putting this out. Okay. A lot of people get it misconstrued that when you focus on yourself, you're being selfish. When in actuality, you're being selfless. You're actually shifting your mindset or your mentality to where you are supposed to be all along. Who am I talking to? Now, some of you who've already started that journey and are starting to do that work, you've already noticed that in your environment now that the people that you once gave access to, slowly but surely, they're disappearing out of your life, which is only opening opportunity for the people that should be there for you to attract them. You got to bear with me because I'm trying not to burp. Um, and this is just a rite of passage because yes, if this was a perfect world, you would have your childhood friends, and some you may, but for others, you've come to understand that. Well, you know what? It's about growth, and as well as which I got to talk about. You know, I remember when uh, neo soul neo soul artist Natalie Stewart. She was in a duet with a duo group called Floetry, and those two women, when they were together, were phenomenal. But they had their own path, and they've gone and done great things individually, and which I will say, um, I was I was very grateful to catch one of the last concerts that they would do together as a group um, back in 2019. I want to say it's 2019. And then Marsha went on ahead and dropped that her latest album that she had put out, and Natalie had dropped her project. Matter of fact, Natalie was getting ready to become a mother, and you know, for the neo soul world, it was disappointing because they were breath of fresh air, you know, when it came to the music scene. So this for them to break up, you know, it was unfortunate. But you can't keep down something that's blessed. And I wouldn't be surprised, you know, like a lot of artists have done, they'll commemorate their debut album, especially if it was monumental. And that that Floetry album is a classic. So who knows? Maybe when they hit their 10-year anniversary or their 20-year anniversary, they'll do a commemorative tour. Who knows? So, but on a different note, you are required to keep growing, to keep living, and you don't need permission from anybody to strive to have the life that you deserve, especially if you're doing the work. I'm not talking, oh, I'm just going to manipulate this situation or I'm going to wear this mask for that situation. Now, because all that's going to do is attract paranoia, fear, and a lot of low energy that you don't want in your life. But one thing that I also wanted to share was today, about 3 hours ago. And some of y'all already know I've been on my DNA lineage journey, and I've been, you know, learning as I go. Because one of the things that, as a man, I wanted to know was one, where's my family come from? Because I couldn't ignore the fact that my connection with my great grandmother, I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, And I remember when I had that moment with her, you know, and I remember her hair. She had some really long silverish gray hair that went down the small of her back, almost to her butt. And I remember as a small child, I used to play in it, like most, I guess, toddlers do, you know. And I never forgot that moment, those interactions that we had. And I knew that I wanted to know her history. But as you already know, unfortunately, elders don't want to talk about their past or their history. And I'm not talking about from a perspective of disrespect. I'm talking about from a position to carry on the family history, you know? And so that's what motivated me to do the DNA test. For one, if I'm ever afforded to have that conversation with my child, my daughter, because we've been on rocky terms for a long, long time. And it is not that I haven't tried to communicate, because I have. And I will continue to do that as long as I've got air in my lungs as her father. But, you know, that's a different story in itself. Indirect, not to her, but how things, a lot of the stuff that I had to go through just because I wanted to be a father that loved the daughter. But on another note, as a man, I wanted to know without a shadow of a doubt if I had other children in the world that I knew nothing about. Because I'd always strived to be a responsible black man. I always, I in my mind, my daughter, I didn't. She wasn't born until I was 31. Because I was focused on my military career. I was focused, and I didn't want to be the status quo. You know, I wanted to be out there getting it. And the one thing that I've learned about life, you can't be on the sideline when things don't they don't play out as you foresee it, because you always have an opportunity to change it or adapt, and that's something you don't need permission from nobody. You know, and one thing that I used to always convey in my videos, I used to always say, sometimes you got to get out of the way of other people so you can find the road that you're supposed to be on all along. And as long as you do what's required, or give me 1 second, fam. Sorry about that. We've got geckos on the island, and sometimes they'll creep in, but those you leave them alone because they're like nature's exterminator. So if you see a gecko, leave them alone, because if you got any bugs, they're gonna eat them. So you let them do their thing. So as I was saying, sometimes life will throw you curveballs just to see if you're aware, just to see if you'll participate, just to see if you allow things to play out without your control. And I really believe spiritually that's the Most High's way of saying, hey, no matter what you had gone through, no matter what's playing out, you have a right to make a choice. But the point is, make the choice. And a lot of times, people won't. They'll blow it off. They'll downplay it. They'll put on a front. And it don't benefit you. If you don't acknowledge what needs to be changed, it'll never change itself. And guess what? You don't need nobody's permission to change you. I've been saying that forever. And you don't. And with that being said, that's why you have so many people today dealing with mental health issues. I've always been passionate about that because when I was younger, my early teens, almost 20 years of my life, I suffered from depression. I did. And it's because I didn't know how to communicate my feelings because I was shy. I was very naive. And I just didn't want to piss people off. You just did, you know. And with that being said, you have to allow yourself to be comfortable to hearing your voice. And I don't mean from a place of anger. I'm talking about a place of temperance. Because a lot of people get this messed up. They think, well, because you have self-control and discipline, that you're weak. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you something. Some of your most strongest people you will ever come in contact are the people that exhibit self-control. Did you hear me? Because those people will always have a level head, plus they're always analytical before they act. That's why you have so many people that deal with emotional triggers. Can't communicate with them. They get set off. You try to talk to them, they set off. That ain't nothing but fear. Ain't nothing but low end energy. As well as that might be something that they have yet to master themselves. Who am I talking to? You have every right to have the life you dream of, but it requires work. It requires work, family. It is no one's going to hand it to you. You're not going to be able to obtain it because of what you look like, or what you've done, or on your back, or giving your sexuality away like trinkets. It don't work. All those things right there will rob you of your vitality. Hold that thought. So, I just had a thought cross my mind. For those who got Netflix, into movies and stuff, here's a good example. This movie came out. It's called My Naming, but it looks like it says My Name, and it's about this. It's a Korean action movie, but it's dubbed in English, so you got to worry about that. But the story, it's broken down in episodes. Good story, because if you follow the character all the way through and everything she had to do, at the end, when you come out of when you wrap it up, you're like, wow. If you like action, you're gonna really love this one because it's a female character as the lead. But the point I'm trying to make is this: when you decide that you are all in when it comes to your life, you will not ignore your happiness. Who am I talking to? I'll say it again. When you decide that you are all in with your when it comes to your happiness, that's when things will fall into place. That's when the most your most progression will take place. And you will also understand what it is to be selfless. Being selfless does not mean you're the victim. You know what separates a victim from I don't like using the term survivor. Acknowledgement. Did you hear me? What's the difference between a victim and a survivor? Acknowledgement. Because once you decide to acknowledge what does not work, you get a little bit of self power or self empowerment back. The sting doesn't have as much weight on you emotionally. Eventually, the more that you are aware, slowly but surely it fades. And then that becomes strength. It also becomes your story because it's also your wisdom on the things that you need to do compared to what you wanted to do. And I know that can be very difficult for some people because you're looking at it from a perspective of, I don't want to piss them off. I genuinely care about these people. I don't want to have a impasse with these folks. But, but, here's the problem. If they felt that same way about you, why would you be having that thought process to begin with? Why would you have to make changes if they were doing what was required all along? What am I talking to? You can't get them on the phone, but they can always get a hold of you when they need something. Who am I talking to? If you got to turn around and remind them of what you don't tolerate, there should be no communication. But that shouldn't be done with disrespect either, because it defeats the purpose. Because you may have been the entertainment, and they know that said behavior gets a rise out of you, gets a reaction out of you. Nah. Mm-mm. They don't have your best interest. Because if they did, you wouldn't have to even entertain that as an option or a reaction. So, make a point. And maybe you just got to do this. Sit down, take a piece of paper, pros and cons, the things you like compared to things you don't. And look at which has more weight. And then after that you've done that, when you're ready, because you can't do it, you can't assess this with emotion. You gotta deal with this with logic. And depending on the connection, being time invested, effort shown, because people have selective memories on shit like that. Excuse my French. For your clarity, have the conversation respectfully, and then watch what they do. Now, I mean, look at it from like eyes of a hawk. Just watch their behavior. Because people go through stuff all the time. Sometimes people just don't want to burden you, or they don't have the communication skills to express how they need to convey whatever needs to be discussed. But watch their behavior, how it's reacted. If they're quickly in defense, they're quickly trying to deflect, do yourself a favor. Bow out gracefully keep it moving. I remember I used to always say this. When was the last time you looked at your cell phone and look at them contacts you got? Oh, I know I'm saying curse words right now. Look at them. And out of those contacts that you have, look at the ones that you have no contact with, delete them. Then the ones that are remaining, look at how your connection is in the current state. If it's nothing but drama, delete them. Block that fucking number. Or you don't have to block it. Don't take the call though. If you have to communicate with them non-verbally. Because 9 times out of 10, those same folks, they were looking for their out anyway. And 9 times out of 10, they already got focused on something else anyway. You were just something to do. It's true. Like the R&B legend Johnny Guitar Watson. He had a song called Use Me Up. If you've never heard that song, go on the search engine, put Johnny Guitar Watson, Use Me Up. You know the song because they've used the sample. They've sampled that song so much in hip hop. As soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, that's such and such. No, that's the guy that created that song. For my hip hop heads, he's the one who created the song Superman Lover that Redman made famous. That sample, that's Johnny Guitar Watson. Lastly, stop beating yourself up. There's nothing a person can do or say more critically that your mind will process 10 times more. Stop doing it. Now, if there's some things that you have some sticking points, identify what they are. Identify it. Write it down. Say it aloud. Then make a point. Once you've identified that, come up with a plan how you're gonna champion it, and watch how far your life goes. Because I'm gonna tell you what, half the people that you will come to meet directly or indirectly won't do that work. And you know what happens? They'll put themselves in a state, emotional state that is so debilitating that what ends up happening is that's how disorders occur, eating disorders, addictions, and of course, bottom line, depression. And you don't need that because ultimately, all that's going to do is rob you of your mortality. How many people y'all know? We'll just say if you're in your 30s, but you know somebody in their 20s and they look like they're in their 70s because they don't know how to deal with coping skills. They're still hung up on it. They haven't learned that. You know, don't kick them while they're down. But I come to learn that when a person's ready to receive what they need to receive, they'll go look for it. They'll go look for it. And then you have some people that will do the theatrical role of showing that they're doing something, but they really ain't gonna do nothing. And they may just use that as a tactic to keep you around. Well, he said he was gonna go out there and get a job. He said that he been saying that for the last 7 months. Why he gotta do that? He got you. Why she gotta change that up? All you gonna do is fuss. Nah. Mm-mm. We teach people how we want to be treated, family. But I'm gonna tell you what. You know what's sad? Because there's still a period in a person's life, if they live their life through autopilot, they end up becoming disheveled, fragmented, broken, and sadly bitter. You see them. You see them all the time. Can't even have a conversation. They mad all the freaking time. Why? Because they haven't figured out, or they figured out what they need to do, but they refuse to do anything about it. So guess what? They turn around, tune you out. They turn around and say, well, this is who I am, take it or leave it. No, you leave it. Because we are what we attract. If you're trying to better yourself and your environment is trying to stand still, why are you there? This for somebody. If you're unconditionally loving someone and they're not loving you back with the same energy that you put out, why are they there? Oh, I know why. I know why. Because they figured out the person that should love the most is you when it comes to you. And as long as you haven't figured that out, they're going to ride that carousel. We used to call that the emotional roller coaster. And you wonder why people are numb. You can see it when they come to work. And automatically, as soon as you walk in the environment, walk in the room, is some heaviness going on. That's them. Now, you don't have control of how that plays out in your work environment, but you do have a choice on how you choose to deal with it. Keep it professional. Keep it moving. If it ain't about business, what you got to talk about? We teach people how we wish to be treated. That's why you always got the person on the job that wants to be the bully or think that they can talk reckless because they've been getting away with. No, you shut that down real quick. And what'll end up happening is they'll get a clue real quick, or they will go to the next person that they can keep doing that to. Be the exception to the rule. I really believe, family, 2022 is going to be a major reset, socially, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And I know that spirituality for some is a touchy subject because they've been disappointed or they haven't reached the understanding, and they may think, well, you know what? if I can't physically touch it, it's not real. So for those people, I say this: you can't touch that heartbreak. You can't hold your emotions, but you feel it. Same as your organs. You can't touch your organs, but you rely that they work. You can't touch the air, but you best hope it's there. And that's the same urgency or awareness you are supposed to have when it comes to your happiness. Not everybody's supposed to get you. Mm-mm. I used to always say this, and I'm going to leave this in closing. Not everybody's going to earn the right to know your story. Not everybody is going to earn the right to walk with you. Not everybody is going to earn the right to understand what makes you think the way you do and move the way you should. But a select few will. And those people will earn the right to hear you breathe. Because you're priceless, family. Never forget that. For some, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you already know what you need to do. For the others, I hope you get there. Because one thing that I've come to learn is this: it doesn't matter how intellectual you are or how witty you are, it matters not when it comes to your happiness. And if you don't feel whole, who you fooling? Just remember to love yourself first. Honor the Most High or who you believe in. And just know everything's going to be okay. Because you have a right to not only embrace your story, which is your wisdom, but more importantly, to define it. Stop worrying about when they're going to call and why they ain't called you. Y'all not married. If they don't, listen, I feel this on my spirit right now, and I'm about to shut this up. A lot of people want to play house. A lot of people want to lay claims on stuff. But you can't have a covenant with somebody else if you don't already have a covenant established with yourself. Maybe that's the reason why you don't smile anymore. And what's sad, that same exact very smile has the power to light up a room or silence a crowd. Why? We're talking about you. Be blessed.